Hello everyone, and welcome back to Behind the Bulletin. Thank you for joining us today. Tonight, we're diving into a moment that shook the entire venue. A moment so raw, so unexpected, that the audience fell silent, only to break into tears seconds later. Stage breakdown: Chae-min's heartfelt tribute to Yoona leaves the entire hall in tears. What happened on that stage? Did Chae-min's voice crack the way it did? And what was it about Yoona that brought him to the edge of emotion in front of thousands? Stay with us, because we're about to uncover the full story. Every trembling word, every stunned reaction, and every heart-stopping second. Let's begin. No one expected the night to unfold the way it did. The award ceremony had been smooth, polished, glamorous, an orchestration of perfect performances, scripted speeches, and shimmering lights. But everything changed the moment Chae-min stepped onto the center stage. At first, the audience thought it was just another acceptance speech, a routine moment in a long evening. But the tension in his shoulders was unmistakable. The slight tremble in his grip visible even from the back rows. Something was different. Something was coming. The spotlight tightened around him, isolating him from the glittering world behind. He took the microphone, inhaled shakily, and the entire hall went still. Even the hum of the massive LED screens seemed to quiet themselves. A storm was gathering in his eyes, one that no one was prepared for. He began slowly, voice quivering not from fear, but from a tidal wave of emotion pushing against his chest. Tonight, I want to say something I've never said publicly before. The audience straightened in their seats. The camera crew zoomed in, sensing a moment they could not afford to miss. Behind the curtains, staff members exchanged confused glances. This wasn't scripted, not even hinted to them beforehand. Then he spoke her name. Yoona. The moment the syllables left his mouth, the hall trembled with shock. Audible gasps scattered like sparks across the room. Fans in the balcony clutched their banners so tightly their knuckles turned white. Yoona herself, seated elegantly among other top stars, froze as though struck by lightning. Her eyes widened, lips parting in disbelief. She hadn't expected this. No one had. Chae-min continued, each word cracking through the silence like breaking glass. For years, she has been someone I admired, respected, and someone who shaped me more than she will ever know. His voice wavered, breath hitching slightly as he struggled to contain himself. There were moments when I was lost, when I doubted my path, and her strength, her kindness, her artistry kept me going. Every camera in the building snapped toward Yoona. She sat frozen, pupils trembling, hands clenched tightly in her lap. Her managers leaned forward instinctively. Breathing. Around her, celebrities whispered urgently, exchanging looks that were a mix of shock, curiosity, and disbelief. Chae-min pressed on, as though the confession had burst through a dam he could no longer hold back. I don't know if she ever realized it, but she gave me courage. She gave me direction. I owe her more than words can ever describe. His throat tightened, forcing him to pause. His fingers shook around the microphone. A single tear slipped down his cheek. The hall erupted into chaos, shivering gasps, hands flying to mouths, fans crying into their light sticks. The entire atmosphere collapsing into raw emotion. Even the hosts standing off stage looked stunned, scripts fluttering in their hands. But Chae-min wasn't finished. He wiped the tear, his chest rising and falling sharply, then said the words that would define the night. Yoona, thank you for being the reason I didn't give up. A long, full silence swallowed the room. People turned to Yoona again, desperate to see her reaction. Sat motionless, except for the trembling in her lashes. They strained of color as she tried to process the weight of every word. No one saw the moment coming. Not the fans, not the staff, not the countless viewers watching live across the world, and certainly not Yoona herself. Chae-min's confession struck the hall like a lightning bolt, beautiful, devastating, unforgettable. And, right when the audience thought the night couldn't become any heavier, Chae-min's voice cracked a second time. Sorry for saying this here, but if I didn't say it tonight, I never would. The reaction was instantaneous. Some fans sobbed openly. Others sat in stunned silence. Social media exploded so violently that streaming platforms crashed for several minutes. The entire live comment feed turned into a tsunami of disbelief. Heart emojis, question marks, and screaming in all caps. And backstage? Staff scrambled to adjust the program. Managers frantically whispered into earpieces. Agencies texted each other in panic. But Yoona still hadn't stood up. Still hadn't smiled. Still hadn't moved. She was frozen, breath trapped somewhere between shock and something deeper, something no one could interpret. Not yet. What happened next changed everything. The moment Lee Chae-min stepped off stage, the hall remained suspended in a strange emotional limbo. Applause attempted to rise, but faltered midway, collapsing beneath the unbearable tension he left hanging in the air. The spotlight dimmed, but the echoes of his trembling words refused to fade. Even backstage, staff members stood rooted to the spot, unable to process what they had just witnessed. But the real storm was building on the opposite end of the hall, right where Yoona sat. Her eyes were fixed on the stage long after Chae-min disappeared behind the curtains. The world around her blurred, voices faded into static. She could feel her heart hammering painfully inside her chest, as if trying to break out. Her breath trembled. Fingers dug into the fabric of her dress, knuckles widening with the effort to stay composed. The cameras refused to look away. Everyone waited. Everyone needed to know. What would Yoona do? After what felt like an eternity, she exhaled slowly and lifted her gaze. Eyes glistened, not with mere surprise, but with a depth of emotion that caught the entire hall off guard. She rose from her seat. Instantly, the crowd reacted, gasps, murmurs, rustling movements that swept across the venue like a living wave. 1,000 heads turned. 1,000 breaths held. She began walking. Each step was measured yet trembling. She were fighting a battle inside herself, between fear, shock, admiration, and something even she couldn't fully name. Cameras followed her, desperate to capture every second. The hosts froze mid-sentence. Performers waiting backstage pressed themselves against the curtains, eyes wide. Lee Chae-min stood frozen behind the wings when he saw her silhouette approaching. His breath caught, panic slicing through him. He hadn't expected her to follow. He hadn't expected any reaction, much less this. Confession had already shaken the world. Now it was threatening to break him entirely. Yoona stepped past the curtains. Backstage corridor held its breath. Chae-min looked at her as though seeing a ghost. His expression crumbled, fear, dread, hope, all mixing dangerously in his eyes. Yoona stopped just inches away from him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then she whispered, barely audible but powerful enough to collapse him from the inside, "Why did you say that, here?" Her voice broke, not in anger, but something achingly vulnerable. Chae-min's throat tightened. He forced himself to meet her gaze, even as tears pooled in the corners of his eyes. "Because I needed you to know. I needed everyone to know what you meant to me. I couldn't keep pretending anymore." Breath wavered. The hall outside buzzed with chaos, audience members shouting, staff running, cameras swarming, but backstage, thing fell into slow motion. Yoona's lips parted, but no words came out at first. Instead, her expression softened, the pain in her eyes shifting into something gentler, warmer, something she had been hiding, perhaps even from herself. "Chae-min," she whispered, voice trembling like glass about to shatter. "You should have told me privately. Not like this. Not in front of the whole world." He closed his eyes. "I know. But if I didn't say it now, I was afraid I'd never have the courage again." Something inside her cracked. Then, unexpectedly, a tear slipped down Yoona's cheek. The hall outside roared as someone spotted her crying on the backstage camera feed. The sound flooded the venue like a tidal wave. Fans went feral, tearing apart every platform with theories, screams, panic, and disbelief. But inside the narrow backstage hallway, Yoona slowly reached out. Her hand hovered for a moment, shaking, then gently touched Chae-min's cheek. He froze, breath collapsing in his chest. "Foolish child," she whispered. "You always carry too much alone." The words weren't romantic. They weren't a confession. They were soft, warm, beautiful, breaking. Kind of words that made fans everywhere scream, faint, or burst into tears. Chae-min exhaled, a sound filled with relief and devastation intertwined. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. The silence between them said more than language could. The world wouldn't stay silent for long. Suddenly, staff members burst into the hallway, shouting urgent warnings. The broadcast caught them. The feed leaked. "We need to issue a response." A step back immediately, wiping her eyes. her expression into something unreadable. Chae-min stiffened, dragging his trembling emotions back behind a mask. The moment between them vanished, swallowed by the chaos erupting around them. Reporters rushed. Fans screamed. Media melted. But one truth remained. No one in that hall, not the audience, not the staff, not even Chae-min and Yoona themselves, would ever forget what happened that night. A stage broke. Fashion shattered the silence. And two hearts, one trembling, frozen, collided under the brightest lights imaginable. The world had witnessed a moment it would talk about for years. And its impact had only just begun. Stage may have emptied, the lights dimmed, and the crowd dispersed. But the echoes of that night lingered like a haunting melody. Chae-min's trembling confession. Yoona's silent tears glistening beneath the spotlight. And the raw collision of two hearts caught in a moment too powerful to hide. All of it became a story larger than the event itself. Would replay those minutes again and again, searching for every glance, every breath, every flicker of emotion that slipped through the cracks of their carefully curated image. And the truth was simple yet unforgettable. Moments aren't scripted. Some emotions can't be contained. They break free. The world stops to watch. That night did not mark the end of a chapter. The beginning of a legend. One written live, under the brightest lights, in front of an audience that will never forget what it witnessed. Thank you for joining us on this emotional journey. Watching this unforgettable moment unfold with us. Behind the Bulletin. We are dedicated to bringing you the most powerful stories, emotions, and the moments that shake the very heart of K entertainment. Stay with us for more breaking stories, more behind-the-scenes truth, and more unforgettable nights. This has been Behind the Bulletin. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.